Okay, well, Hey It's the Luskos.
Hey.
Jeremy and Adrienne Kemp, thanks for being.
So
Thanks
glad
for
you're here.
Now we can
So
continue
happy.
to talk about Tabasco if you want.
Yes,
So
we
if
will
you
talk
don't know who
about
Tabasco is your poodle,
Yeah,
right?
he's been on the podcast quite a few times.
Oh,
He usually
okay.
hangs with Jennie on the couch,
Oh, really?
but he does have an orange mohawk at the
Isn't
moment.
yours?
I love
Jennie
it.
on
I
the block,
used to have an orange mohawk,
sure.
actually.
Right, when you guys met.
Oh,
Yes.
And
Tabasco and
actually, it was
Adrienne
probably
were.
about that color.
Oh,
Actually,
my
this is the
goodness.
truth. That is the same color of your hair when it was spiky.
Yep.
And, oh my word!
Okay.
Yeah, that's,
That's
true.
amazing.
You
was
feel
like
very
rocker
bonded to
kind.
Tabasco right now.
I do. Yeah.
Okay, I love in the book when you were like, I never am going to marry like the athletic build. Like I'm going to marry an angsty poet. Or you said sculptor. You said like
Creative, like
Some
sculptor.
artist, painters,
Oh, yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was the complete opposite of what she wanted to
Captain
marry.
of the football team.
Oh, yeah.
Totally.
Corn-fed, Midwest boy.
Yes, exactly.
Not like Artie at all.
Yeah.
I'm like the black and white, number 8 on the Enneagram. You know what I'm saying? Like the
yeah.
challenger. And she's like, I want a Ford individualist, someone that would love me
Yeah.
and do art with
I
me.
need someone from Nashville.
Like, no,
Yeah.
not doing that.
I'm glad I didn't marry that person, though.
That's God
Yeah.
knows what we need, not what we
Yeah.
want.
That's
Yeah.
exactly
True.
right. In fact, we were having this discussion with some friends the other day that I was just saying, had I picked the person that I thought I needed, I would have been so way off. And I just think Jeremy has taught me so much about how different he is. And we balance each other out.
How
and
different I am. What does that mean?
unique. He's different, little unique, you know.
I'm a little different,
Jennie and
guys.
I, we relate to that because if we would have got what we wanted, not what God knew we needed,
Oh, yeah.
we would be brother and sister-in-law.
Wait,
Whoa.
Oh, it's a crazy
Well,
story.
Jennie's ex-boyfriend is my ex-girlfriend's brother.
oh,
Wow.
And we didn't know each other at the time. So when we met, we did not realize that fully. And then
I did. You didn't remember meeting
I didn't.
me.
I met her. So I,
I
met her
met you.
under those circumstances.
I met you in my hometown, but you didn't remember meeting me.
Of Pebble Beach, right?
Yeah, Monterey.
Monterey, yeah, Pebble Beach. Yeah,
But
yeah.
what's funny though, well, a lot
We
about that
very
is
nearly
funny.
got married to those two people. we
That
both.
is
fun.
Well, I
They
met
met at
Bible
Calvary-
college,
at Bible
SCCBC,
college.
which you went to the
Yeah.
same Bible college.
Are
yeah.
you serious?
Yeah.
You
Bible
met
college
there?
drama.
Oh,
yeah.
there's a lot. Ring
Wait.
by spring or your money back.
Yeah.
I was going to say, what was the
Bridal
saying?
college.
Yeah, literally it
they
was
called
ring by spring or your money back is what kind of the
Guaranteed,
motto was.
yeah.
Gosh.
Anyhow.
Anyhow.
So, but God knew we needed each other, and
Totally.
Can
yeah,
you imagine?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
life would be different. None of our kids would exist.
No, exactly.
And Tabasco would not have orange hair.
No.
And we wouldn't be able to relate Adrienne to Tabasco. Wait, that sounded weird.
Exactly.
Sorry, that's not what I meant. Tabasco has, let me go, if you just tuned in, Tabasco has orange mohawk, just like Adrienne did in the mentioning
did.
game. That's okay.
How long did the orange mohawk stay, or was it lots of different colors? Or did it
It
stay
was
there?
a few different colors. I had black in my hair at one point, like a very, very bright red that ended up sort of washing out to a pink. The orange mohawk lasted a while, though.
Pretty rocking.
Yeah.
That's rock and roll, guys.
Okay, so when did you start Benjamin Gate, or when did that all start?
Did you start Benjamin Gate?
No. So the band actually started without me.
Oh.
And one of our best friends in the band, he actually got killed in a car accident.
I'm so sorry.
And so the band sort of took a break. And then after that, really just being prayerful about whether or not to continue and all of that stuff. And one of the main guys who used to sing said he felt like the Lord was telling him to ask me, that I was sitting in front of him at church one day. And they asked me to join on my 17th birthday, actually. I was 17 years
South
old.
Africa.
In South Africa. And we just started writing songs and stuff together. And then crazy story, we ended up getting signed by an American label. But they said...
What label was it?
Forefront Records.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but Forefront said if they would sign us
Your
as long...
BEC?
I was.
Was
Capital now.
Okay,
yeah.
Yeah.
But they just basically said the only condition is that you have to move to America. So I moved when I was 19. Right before I turned 20.
Can you imagine?
Stipulated in the contract.
Oh, yeah.
Basically, yeah.
And can you imagine as a parent having your child go to a different country at 19 years old to
Yeah.
travel?
Now I'm like, don't do what I did.
Yeah, we
I know, right?
Like our youngest
May
daughter.
not
Things we tell our
leave.
kids.
Oh, it is. Well,
When you think about your marriage age, you're like, oh man, we were 22, 21. Like, good. You need to be
Babies.
27.
I was
you know?
22.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
a little bit.
22 and Levi was 21.
But then you think about your children doing what you did at that stage, and you're like,
Oh.
you know what? It's probably not.
Yeah.
Now I understand my parents more. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And we're like telling my youngest daughter, Ari, she wants to play music for a living. That's what she wants to do. And where I'm kind of like trying to make sure she really wants to do it.
Yeah.
Because if she wants to, I'm going to support her 100%.
Right.
But it's not an easy lifestyle. You
No.
know what I mean? Like you really want
Well, and these
her-
days, everything's in such upheaval with everything.
We have no clue.
Exactly.
I don't know if I want to be playing for a long time
Yeah.
because, I mean, things are kind of tightening back up again. And so, you know, my tour got shut down this year. And so all of a sudden we're here. And I've been literally what I've been doing is, you know, like hundreds of interviews pretty much, but also learning to engineer more, because I'm like, well, I might as well learn to engineer more. I mean, I know how to produce, I know how to do things, but to really get in there. And so I've been just sitting there learning for hours.
Now, would you go through like a course, or you just figuring myself, watching YouTube videos?
Yeah, literally.
I have to brag on him for a minute. He's been doing a phenomenal job.
Wow.
Like just sitting down and learning a bunch of stuff. And it was so sweet because during quarantine.
Pro Tools?
Logic.
Yeah. Both of our daughters wrote songs just separate from each other, and it was so sweet. And that's just amazing to see our kids writing songs anyway. But he totally recorded these little demos for them, and it was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now,
That's
did
so
they start in
amazing.
piano lessons?
Yes. Yeah, they
What
both
age
took
did they
piano.
start?
Oh my goodness.
It was.
Really young, actually.
Bella
Probably
was like
6 or
6.
7. Yeah, Ari took violin for a couple years because she really wanted to do that, and then gave it up.
Yeah.
And then did piano lessons. None of them are taking lessons right now, but they have a really
They have a good base.
They've got,
yeah.
and they've got this super sweet group at our church where they have a worship discipleship program that Jeremy's brother actually teaches.
Yeah. Oh my
And he just
goodness.
challenges the kids all the time, write a song. And so there's probably about 5 or 6 of them that get together on a regular basis, and they'll play worship songs together and write songs together.
Oh my
So it's been
gosh,
super
that's
cool to see.
incredible.
And you
the
never know.
creativity.
Like
Yeah.
my brother, so I told him the other day, I looked at him.
Older,
like,
younger?
He's younger. He's 33. No, just turned 34, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe. And I looked at him, I just said, I got really emotional. I said, I'm so proud of you. I said, thank you, because I said the songs that my daughters have written because of you, because you forced them, like, hey, worship discipleship, you discipled them and told them to write and told them they could write. I said, they're amazing songs, and now like they're emboldened to write. And so and I tell people, never underestimate discipleship with these young kids. Like you can make a massive difference. And who knows, because there's a song that one of them wrote that is dealing with a little bit of the racial reconciliation of what's going on right now, which is beautiful. My youngest.
Yeah.
And so we're going to put together this song, and a lot of people are starting to kind of come together and go, hey, let's make this a thing. And I'm going, you have possibly pushed this into something that could be greatly impactful. And so I told him that, and we're both crying. She walked in and she's like, you guys okay? And we're like, it's just having a moment here, just thankful. So, but you never know the impact you're going to have on these younger generation.
Okay, so we were talking about your kids start music lessons. Now, did you start piano?
I play a little bit. I didn't actually really take lessons growing up, but just learnt chords and stuff, so play worship music. So I always try to teach the kids just a little bit, and then
I can play chords.
Jeremy's
I'm more
kind
just
of an
curious
all-rounder.
your path to music.
Mine was, my path to music was I played sports all my life. So I was big time, played football. I was a running back and linebacker.
Varsity leather jacket.
I was that guy that she did not like.
Did she want to marry? Yeah.
She's like, I don't want to be that guy. Yeah,
I'll never marry that
And I was
guy.
like the
Wait, you have a tattoo around your bicep?
Yeah.
Not gonna happen. Yeah.
Well, then, I was kind of like, the cheerleader, and she was like rock chick with spiky, Tabasco hair.
Yep.
And
Dark.
eyeliner,
Yeah.
really different. But so my dad, one day, I was like, he played guitar all his life, and I said, hey, why don't you show me a few chords? Just why not? So he showed me a few chords, and then all of a sudden it came naturally.
It's actually because he was trying to woo all the cheerleaders.
Well, I mean, I did kind of sing Bon Jovi songs and stuff.
That's
and
amazing.
Poison songs.
Oh my gosh.
What, Every Rose Has Its Thorn?
Jimmy Eat World.
Jimmy Eat World. Stone Temple Pilots, that didn't go over well with
Little Matchbox 20. I could probably see a little Rob
Yeah,
Thomas going
totally.
on.
Right.
Kind of passing resemblance a little bit. He's skinnier though.
I was going to say, what does that mean? Because he's a little guy.
Yeah.
Thanks,
I'm
Levi.
talking about your face.
Oh, okay, the face.
my
So
God.
I went from there and just, I wrote my first song, and it was called Set Me Free. I wasn't walking with the Lord. It was called Set Me Free. And it was my first attempt of really laying my heart out in a song. I didn't really know I could do that, but I didn't know what else to write, so I wrote what I was feeling. And the song was like, you got to set me free from sin, because I was living in this place where I was kind of like, I feel like I'm stuck. And so that was kind of the start of me realizing that I could write songs that had meaning and that really related to people.
Wow.
And so I went from there, and kind of football became a thing where it kind of started going away. And then God called me to go to Bible college, and I was going to go to Purdue University, and I was going to, football hopefully. And God's like, nope, you're going to play music and go to Bible college and study the Word. And honestly, it was the best thing I ever did, because it gave me such a rad foundation of God's Word that really helped me, I think, in this next season. Because I always, it sounds so cheesy, but actually I've always felt this way, and it keeps my mindset right. I feel like that I'm a minister of the gospel who happens to play music. I think that's why.
I think that comes across.
Yeah, it does.
Hopefully,
It
because
really does.
I love music, and I feel like God's given me a gift at it. But I feel like if somebody said you can play music all your life, but you can't say anything, I probably wouldn't do it. Because I feel like part of what God has called me to do is to share what he's taught me and the things that he's done. And so that's what
powerful, because it can pivot and regardless of what you're doing and whether you're doing music.
Right.
Like, it's like I heard that the Zappos guy is not into shoes.
Really?
He was asked in an interview, Tony Hsieh.
Like he only has 2 pairs of shoes or
three.
something, right?
They said, how many pairs of shoes do you have? You sold a $1 billion shoe company. He goes, 3. I'm not really into shoes. And he lives in an Airstream and he's chill and quirky. But he sees Zappos not as a shoe company, but as a people company, a customer service company that happens to sell shoes. So they could start an airline or they could get into a restaurant business because they're about customer service.
Yeah. Oh,
that's their
brilliant.
differentiation property, you know?
That's brilliant.
So anyhow, you're a minister who plays music now.
Yeah.
And if you didn't play music, you're still a minister. I think it's really clear for anybody listening. The takeaway would be, figure out what you're uniquely called to do.
That's right.
And then what you're going to do today with that can look different than tomorrow.
Right.
100%.
Right. That's so
because you can
beautiful.
use it in different pathways.
But it does come across. I mean, because obviously I've worked a lot of events you've played at over the years and tracked with your career. And since we've known each other, you know, through different ways, like it has come across very evidently to me.
Really? Thank you.
That you're not in it just for the song, you're in it for the ministry and to touch people and express. Like you would always have an evangelistic moment in your concerts.
Yeah.
Not every band would do that. Like I just, you can tell.
Yeah.
So.
Thanks, man. I appreciate
think what's
that.
cool about that is that very DNA is what's helped me as a wife be supportive of him. Because I felt like if it was just about music, all the sacrifice that we've made as a family, like the momming alone, you know, nights for me and juggling so much by myself when he's on the road, it wouldn't really be worth it. But knowing that there's people's lives that are being impacted, and that's what we've told our kids. You know what I mean? It's not like Jeremy's just out there just selling another CD. It really is people's lives are being touched. And so the sacrifice has been worth it as a family.
Well, I think too, having my kids grow up now and really see it, like we went to Uganda where she wrote that book, Even Me, from. I took my daughters, and so they got to see me. We did this outreach. I have a ministry called Speaking Louder Ministries, and what we do is we go to different countries. The most recent was Uganda, because we were supposed to go to Georgia this year in Eastern Europe, but of course COVID happened. But what we do is we go in and do a helps projects. We built a hospital in Entebbe.
Wow.
We do a conference before the big events. We do a conference with all the leaders in the city. So I'll share, I'll play and do worship as well, and we'll have this whole day to encourage the city. And then we work with some local churches that come together and do discipleship after the event. So it's kind of like a crusade, a harvest crusade, you know, in a sense, but we make it a little more hands-on as well. So we had 35,000 people show up to this event, and my daughters get to see this. So they're there, and you know, I share the gospel, and 1,000 people respond to the gospel.
Wow.
And they get to see the fruits of what God is doing. And so it's more, they're just going, yeah, this is what Dad does. And they know, I mean, they've seen me for years, but like to really kind of even go, wow, he even goes overseas and presents the gospel. And so we've had some really radical experiences. I mean, India was a few years ago as well, and we had 16,000 people come to there, and 4,000 people responded to the gospel. And that's a hard one because they'll actually respond to anything because there's, you know, they'll accept any God. But you have to say that Jesus is the only way, the only truth, and the only life.
Yeah,
and
they're happy to add him on as another beauty.
Yeah, and he's like, you can't.
We got 100 guys. We're good.
This is great.
One more.
Exactly.
And so
that exclusivity component is what's so different in that message.
That's incredible.
Massive. So so I think that is the key component to, you know, her, like she said, being supportive and my kids being okay with what I do, because they do know that it's impacting people's lives. And I want them to see that their life can actually do the same thing, no matter what they're doing. I don't have to do music. Like my daughter, though, it's funny, my oldest daughter wants to be a missionary. She's still, after how many years?
Years and years.
That's
8
really,
years. And we're, listen, like, of course, if you want to be a missionary, but like, you also try to discourage the fantasy of being a missionary.
Right.
Because a lot of people say, for one, it's the best way to go. It's like, no, you have to be called. No matter what you're doing, you got to be called. But I think a lot of people also go, you know, oh, we get to go and help the kids, and it's this kind of glamorous thing, and it's not, you know, unless you're called, you're going to not last very long, you know.
Yeah.
You have the
She's
support.
16?
She'll be 16 in
When
September.
did she start saying that?
8?
Yeah, I was going to say it's been years.
It's incredible.
Wow.
She still
well,
has
It's
that.
so funny. I went on my first mission trip when I was in 8th grade, and I felt like that was a seed for me of like, I thought I was going to be a missionary in Africa or in Asia. I literally did. But it's so beautiful because we're all called to be missionaries into wherever God's called us to. And so as God called us to Montana, it was such a foreign place for us, but it's so beautiful to look back and see the desires that I felt like God was putting in my heart personally, and what he has done and kind of funneled it in the way that he did. I just love that from a young age that she has had that desire, and knowing that could look any way. That could be across the seas. It could be
But the fact that it's been intentionality on your part to expose them to the greater international world.
Totally.
You know,
It's
bringing
so
them on. I guarantee that did not come about not because you guys were taking them out with you, which you didn't have to.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
You could stay in Nashville, write songs, and live a comfortable life, but you've chosen to fight against that, get out of your comfort zone.
100%.
I love
That's
it.
one thing we've always tried to do as a family as well. It's like we learned very early on. I think right after Bella was born, Jeremy went on the road for a month, and it was awful. It was so hard. And so from then on, we were just going, there's sacrifices we'll make as a family, but if we can take our kids with us, that's what we're going to do.
Tell us that 2-week rule. You talked about that.
Oh, yeah.
I really like
So we're
that.
basically just saying no more than 2 weeks, and that's only like a few times a year.
Yeah.
Like we don't.
It's usually like a European thing.
Yeah.
Or, you know,
When you kind of have to.
The efficiency of scale at a certain point.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think for us, we
Going to New
realized.
Zealand for the weekend,
Yeah. Right.
which we've stupidly have multiple times gone to Australia for a weekend. We're like, every time we're like ready
Why
to
did
fly
we
home,
do
we're like, what are we doing?
No, it's the worst. It's so long of a flight.
Yeah.
Your body's like, hey, screw you, pal.
Yeah, exactly. You
Thanks
take a
a lot.
vacation from your vacation because that was horrible.
Seriously.
But yeah, I think that's the key is just going, we need to set a rule, that just saying, there's multiple reasons why 2 weeks are just good. You know what I mean? Because you gotta set boundaries.
Yeah.
And of course, if you're like, hey, this is gonna be 16 days, you're not gonna, you don't be legalistic about it, but you have to have boundaries.
Yeah.
And I think
So
that for
wise.
us, having boundaries in what we do, like my kids, this last tour, which we were on and then it got canceled because of the COVID, my kids were kind of having a hard time because they're loving being at home with friends now, because they're at that stage now with friends. And we just said, okay, let's find a compromise so you guys can come out a weekend later and leave a weekend earlier. But like for the rest of the time, it's like you're going to be out, and I love you, and we want you to have your friend times, but our family time right now is just important.
Yeah.
But also accommodating and understanding their age they're in, and they need that as well. Friends are
as
very
they
important.
get older.
Yeah.
And so do you homeschool?
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah, we do.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
We tried regular school, and it was just
Oh my goodness.
pulled our family in so many different directions.
Right.
It was like, okay, this really doesn't work
I'd
for
be
a touring
home
schedule.
Do
during
you
the
guys use
week.
an online component for it?
We did.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah, Liberty University for math and Spanish primarily. And
Oh,
then
they
I
do a
kinda
high school thing too?
Yeah.
Wow.
They
That's
do.
amazing.
It's
Great.
online stuff.
Is there
And
anything that college doesn't do? They have a ski hill.
I know.
We went on that
We
recently.
totally-
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my son, who
Do you
was
snowboard on or tube?
No, I didn't, because I didn't really feel like it. But my son went and did the whole
Skiing.
and jumped a little jump.
Yeah, that new, I think it was at the football field, though they can simulate any weather situation.
That's
so they have a training.
crazy.
When I was there,
What?
they showed it to me where they're building it, where they're like, yeah, this is the new football training facility. We can simulate any altitude and weather in the country, because our team might go to, play at sea level or in the cold and need to be trained for it. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's
Sure.
That seems,
Everyone does that.
Seems normal.
Every college does that.
But their online module is world renowned.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's kind of a competing thing to talk about because we have a Fresh Life Leadership College plug that is
thing.
probably better if you like
Totally.
things that are not nearly as involving a weather-inducing hippodrome. But
Hypodrome.
Oh my
is that a thing?
I think
Hippodrome.
Does that sound
I
right?
don't know.
Hippodrome.
We're gonna have to review that before we publish this. Adrienne, when you were a child, how did your path to music look?
I, at a very young age, wanted to sing. I remember being probably 6 or 7 years old and realizing that I could. And I was like, oh, I like that. And then I actually wrote a little song when I was 7 years old, which I will not sing for you.
God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit.
Totally, little
that
cheesy
really
little
it?
song. Yes.
It's about the Trinity.
It was about the Trinity.
Wow.
So,
6 or 7,
What
you were
year is
cracking the
it?
Trinity
I
code?
guess so, yes.
She has
I
some
didn't
great
know that
theology.
it was a thing that people didn't
Was it
understand.
like Alpha Clover? You could 3 and 1 and 1 and 3, the
That
Blessed
is
Trinity.
amazing.
I know, isn't that so weird? But anyway,
clover.
so I wrote songs when I was younger, and I just sat down on the piano and wrote songs pretty much all my life. I mean, since I can remember. My sister sang, and she was in a band actually, and she was the one that taught me how to sing harmonies with her. So I kind of followed in her footsteps a little bit, and then through her is how I met the guys in my band, because she was in a duo, and there were some South African bands that would all play together, and I would just tag along, and I'd be the little roadie. I would go set up their merchandise. I would hand out flyers and advertise for them and all of that stuff. And so that's how.
Then you became a rock star.
And you got the record deal that involved the trip to America.
Yeah.
And living in America. And you had, I'm sure that visa, was that a hard thing to get a visa?
Yes, very stressful. It is very difficult to get into America.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, and then coming from South Africa as well was just such a different political system. It's like if people have a bad day.
What part of South Africa did you live in?
Port Elizabeth, so very along the coast. Jeffreys Bay, Port Elizabeth, surfer town.
We've been to Cape Town.
Okay, so
it's
Cape Town.
6-7 hours away from Cape Town along the coast.
East.
South
on the
Africa is
coast.
so big.
Yeah.
And then, but I think that trip, we did a trip just to Joburg, but then even going to Cape Town, you have to get across the pond by going to Joburg. And then the flight to back to Cape Town is like, that's a long way to go. It's like the size of the United States, right?
No.
Oh, it's not?
No, it's not. Yeah.
That was.
India. When I was in India,
Yes.
that's the size of the United States.
Which is
going from one flight. It's weird to be on a 4-hour flight just to go to another location in that. I mean,
Totally.
is. I kinda do the same
It's
thing.
probably from Joburg to Cape Town a couple hours.
Okay.
It's still, I mean, it's still big.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
It's
It's not that
the
big.
bottom, basically the whole bottom
So
of
coastal.
very coastal
beautiful.
beach town. Surf,
Great white sharks.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Did you
That was
surf?
very shocking at Cape Town to see the flags up. Like, what's that flag mean? Oh, that's
Sharks.
great white shark has been here today. Guys still out
funny.
surfing.
You know, I
You're
actually forgot about
do
that.
you know what they do to people?
Well,
I actually had a friend that survived a great white shark attack, and I was on the beach when it happened.
Oh
Okay.
my gosh.
Yeah. So yes, very surfer.
And then they have the watchman always up there.
Oh, yeah.
On the cliffs.
Isn't that
It's
crazy?
like seeing that guy is kind of comforting, I guess. If he's a spotter. Like, what's that? Great white shark spotter?
Okay, so did you surf when you lived there?
So I surfed a very little bit, but I grew up in Jeffreys Bay predominantly,
Oh, man.
and it's a very, very competitive surf culture. And especially back then, it was like
Guys only,
guys
kinda.
only.
Yeah.
I mean, they would literally harass you when you got on the board, and it was like making fun of everybody. So, and I'm not a confrontational person back then, especially. So I was
like how
just
she
kind
says
of like,
back then. She's learned from me.
I have learned from
That's
that.
funny.
Yeah. But especially back then, it was kind of like, okay, if I'm going to make you unhappy, I'm not going to do this. But so instead, I became a qualified surf judge.
Come on. Oh,
I'd
so
be
you
a
got to
little-
rank them.
Oh, yes.
4.2, Bob.
So I would go around and judge surfing competitions for a couple
Wow.
years in high school.
Epic.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then what happened to your friend? I
Yeah,
need to know.
and you just,
So
Yeah, I did
he,
kinda-
sorry.
Let's just talk about that.
like it
real
was
quick.
no big
So this
deal.
is crazy, but he actually had 2 prophetic words that he was going to have near-death experiences and basically be fine. So, I mean, obviously, you know, we put all the pieces together afterwards, but in the moment he's thinking, okay, well, I don't know what that is. And we
Bad
had
prophecy.
all
Yeah,
gone,
Very encouraging.
yeah.
Oh.
Well,
I guess you're going to be fine as a good.
I was going to say, yeah.
Perfect.
So we were up, we were actually kind of a secret surf spot, a whole bunch of, kind of like our youth group. We were on the beach, and 2 of the guys were still in the water surfing, and the shark knocked my one friend off the board and came up, and I think the story goes, because this is a long time ago, but that he was just kind of swinging, because you know you need to punch the shark in the nose if it ever
Is that
comes
a real
for you.
thing?
It is a
In the
real
nose.
thing. Yeah.
It disorients them.
And one drop of water in parts per million.
And
Like, I
look
feel
in
like
his
all these
eyes.
Mythbusters things, I don't know what to believe anymore.
I know.
That's true.
Yeah.
But
and
here it's the
so-
grizzly bears. That's the great white shark of Montana.
But do you punch a grizzly bear? In the
Oh,
nose?
no, you don't do it. It's a mistake.
Do not
stay
punch
away
a
from grizzly
grizzly.
bear.
But
Yeah, so
apparently
punch
they
the
can't
shark,
smell
though.
really good. I don't think the blood in the water is the same as what you think it is, right? Isn't
I don't know.
isn't that a myth?
Yeah, it must be.
I'm not
I don't think
sure.
it is.
Yeah.
Punch it in the nose.
Punch it in the nose. And so anyway, so my friend was swinging, and as maybe he miscalculated it, the shark came down and bit him right kind of on his wrist and right under his arm.
Oh, gosh.
And in the meantime, our other friend that was in the water grabbed him and pulled him inside. And so we took the leash off of his board
And
and did a
tourniquet?
tourniquet on his arm.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing was we were probably about a mile or so down the maybe not that much, but a far walk down the beach. And so we had to walk all the way up the beach and up a massive sand dune.
Oh, my
But our
gosh.
pastor at the time had been a doctor before he'd gone into the ministry. And so he met us in the parking lot. And I just remember we hardly said anything. We literally just prayed the entire time. And then he got there and passed out as he got into the parking lot, and they rushed him to the hospital.
I made it.
That's a great story.
That is. That's a good.
That's a great story.
You
Great
did not think the podcast was going to go there today.
No, and I love it.
know,
We've been 9 different subjects already in 20 minutes.
I had high hopes, but you have exceeded my
Yes.
wildest expectations.
One of Levi's favorite weeks is Shark Week,
Love Shark Week.
Oh, then
I
there you
love
go.
sharks.
Oh,
which always happens
And
with
most of the best Shark
Tour
Week
de France.
episodes are in South Africa or Australia.
Totally.
There's some California. There's a lot of great white sharks off the coast of California.
They are.
You don't know about that. They go between, Mexico and Camp Pendleton off the coast of San Diego, Oceanside. But that's like great white shark breeding ground.
Massively.
So you'd be surfing at, trails in San Onofre, and there's great white sharks, just a click out there.
So crazy.
But my big objection to the South Africa surfing would not be as much the sharks as much as just how cold that water is.
It's freezing.
That's what I say.
That's some cold ocean.
So where I grew up, Durban, which is on the east side of South Africa, the water's warm. Cape Town's on the west side, and it's freezing. So where I grew up is kind of in the middle. So we would have this sort of mix, but every once in a while it would have this crazy cold current that would come in.
No, it's like from the Antarctic, or is it Arctic
freezing.
down there? Is it Arctic on the bottom?
No,
Antarctic.
Yeah.
Antarctic.
Gotcha.
So it goes,
Yeah.
swells up.
That's some cold water. But I'm a baby. I need warmer water. Like
I
I'm
am
Maui.
now.
Give me that
I am now.
warm
100%. Like
baby.
in the desert, because we live in the desert.
Yeah.
It's right now the pool is 95
Oh,
degrees.
it's my favorite.
Oh
and
my
it's amazing.
gosh.
I mean, it's 110 out, so it's not.
I like cold water, which you will find out tonight, only for 3 minutes, but not like for a long
Cold
session.
She's gonna make me do a cold plunge.
Oh, you both are going to do it.
Oh,
Yep.
She hates.
I will do
water.
it though.
3 minutes
Okay.
in the ice bath.
3 minutes?
That's the
Does it
thing.
have
We'll
to
set a
be 3
timer.
minutes?
There's massive peer
You can
pressure.
do it.
What if I
I don't like it, but
can't breathe?
Oh yeah. I mean, you'll live. Most likely.
most likely.
No one's ever died yet.
Oh, okay, cool. I'll be the first.
You'll sign the waiver.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't be getting lawsuit.
Speaking of signing a waiver, I did that one time with eating hot wings. Random trail off. 'Cause
Was
I
it
had
like
to
the
eat right
spicy
now.
ones, like that
Yeah.
show?
Oh yeah, I was in Utah, and I was sitting there. I was on tour, and we had a day off, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna take this challenge. So like, you gotta sign a waiver. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm like, sure. I said, well, how hot is it? Like, well, you got to be careful. It can burn your fingers. I'm like, can I wear at least gloves? Because I play music and I don't want to not be able to play.
Irreparable finger damage.
Yeah, literally. So
From hot wings.
They sent, this is a random story. So they come and they bring me my hot wings. I'm like, oh, I can do this. I can do hot stuff. And I can do hot
actually,
stuff.
yeah, well.
So I'm like, I want to be on the wall. I'm like, conquered it. I'm on the wall. So they say, go. So I grab in 1, 2, and then all of a sudden, I can't even describe to you, this pain in my mouth and this shock hit me to where I didn't even understand what was happening in my life at that moment. And
Hallucination.
I got up.
Well, it's in
That's what it felt
the
like.
nervous system.
It is.
That's crazy.
And I felt like that someone was taking a lighter and putting it in my mouth. So my brain was not comprehending that this was okay. So I start going kind of into shock, and I run into the kitchen randomly. I'm running in the kitchen. I'm like, give me some milk. And I'm in the kitchen, and they're like, and I look crazy. So like, take care of that guy. He's crazy. So I'm like drinking milk, and I'm eating vegetables whenever I can. And finally I sit down.
Vegetables?
And I don't know why I was
Where's your
vegetables.
logic in that? Yeah.
Celery,
At that point, complete panic.
anything. I was eating vegetables. That's how panicked I was.
Oh my God, I need some cauliflower.
Now, broccoli,
Seems
please.
right.
So I sit down, and the whole restaurant at this point is like, oh my goodness, what's wrong with this guy? And so I ended up, my lips were like swollen, and I went and got in the hot tub that night with the bros. And I'm sitting down, and I'm like, oh. And I looked down, I had dropped some sauce on my arm, and it was burning. So when I got in the hot tub, it was burning. Anyway, why don't I tell you
It's a
that
good story.
So,
Sorry, that was
is
random.
so-
Well, we were
signing
we were
waivers,
stopped
that's
in
right.
Nashville,
Waivers.
and Hattie B's
Yes.
was where we went
Hot
that
chicken.
night. And yeah, we got the Shut the Cluck Up is the hottest one. 2 million Scoville units.
Oh, my word.
And we watch the video every once in a while. It is like everything just shuts down.
That's
Because it's
crazy.
not your taste buds, it's actually your nervous system. The pain goes through your nerves into your brain. The pain's in your brain.
Yes.
So it's telling you something's happening that you're not actually really happening. And I guess it's deeply personal. Some bodies aren't affected to the same degree as other people.
Deeply personal?
Like your reaction to the pepper might be very different from your wife's, because the way her nervous system responds to those capsaicins might be different than yours.
Wow.
So
Right?
But I was so intelligent.
Well, it's like a rainbow.
so
Like,
much
it's like
science.
when you see a rainbow, you're seeing it what someone else isn't seeing because it's you looking through the prism from your angle.
Oh, yeah.
So the way you have the capsaicins go through your
Is
brain
different.
might be
No,
different.
he's such a scientist.
That's amazing.
Brilliant.
So, but knowing that it's happening does very little
No.
to change
I was going to
what's
say,
happening.
doesn't
matter.
make
You
me
can't tell
wanna
yourself
try
this is
it.
just in
No.
my brain. It's no
Same.
big deal. Like it's
I'm
a
good.
thing.
Well, it's
It's
like,
a
so
full
when we
thing.
went there, Levi's like, oh, you need to try this. I'm like, I'm not going to do that to my body. I don't want to. But then someone who was with us, traveling with us, did it. And you guys were both like
Our
in
babysitter
so
at the
much
time,
pain
yeah.
the next
We were
day.
dying.
I wasn't paying for you a few weeks later too, if you know what I'm saying.
I get you.
Yeah.
Do you watch that Hot Ones show ever?
Yeah.
Do you watch the Hot Ones?
No, I watched the one
YouTube
Man
show?
vs. Food a long time ago.
So the Hot Ones, he interviews people while they eat sequentially hotter and hotter hot wings. It's incredible, but to watch certain people
React.
be fine, like DJ Khaled was hilarious. Like he quit halfway through the run. I was like, but he was like, he was trying to reframe like, I'm not quitting because this is a bad decision. He was like, well, by definition, you are
quit.
quitting. Yeah. And there's a wall of shame
hilarious.
for anybody who doesn't finish it. It's quite a good YouTube show.
That's
Hot Ones.
hilarious.
But then when they're burning, he'll ask them some deeply personal, throw them off kilter question. And like Kevin Hart, is like, I don't even know what you're talking about. He's like, but it is like a hot, when you're on really hot food, there is almost a out of body. Yeah.
Your endorphins kick in.
Yeah, you're sweating.
Oh yeah.
That's crazy.
Anyway.
Do you like spicy, Adrienne?
I like spicy, but not to where I can't taste like the flavors anymore.
Yeah.
So I can handle some, but not as hot as he
It's like,
can.
I feel like I'm licking a battery. Something's gone wrong.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Where's the
when my mouth is just on
gooiness?
fire,
Okay.
that's all that I'm
I like
not
a flavorful
enjoyable.
hot.
Yes.
I lived 10 years in New Mexico, so green chili.
Oh, yeah.
Like I love that green chili flavor.
I love it. Bring it on all day
Or
long.
Christmas. So they say red or green, you go Christmas. And they put a little bit of red, a little bit of green.
both.
All right, I'll do that. Christmas.
Okay, so path to music industry. I'm still interested.
So funny.
Yeah.
Well, we've kind of met way over there. All I'm asking is, there's probably people listening who are like, interested in tracking. The industry has changed so violently
Yes.
It really
in the
has.
years that you guys have been involved in it. Where do you see it going? How do you see it differing from the traditional track of getting, a deal offered to you?
Right.
Do you still see that as the primary way people would enter into it? I mean, just your kids, you said that they have an interest in it.
Right.
Yeah.
So what's your guidance to them in crafting their musical,
good question.
journeys?
We had a friend one time say to us, the day and age of social media and YouTube and just everything is that everybody's famous, so no one's famous. So what happens is that everyone has the ability to start a YouTube page or start something and have some kind of followers. And so you kind of create this idea that, I'm somebody. And so I think what's happened is, there's everybody sings. So it's like going to Nashville. There's like some of the best musicians that are working at Starbucks, you know what I mean? But they just haven't met the right connection. And I still think that that's the case. And this is like a practical way. I mean, of course, talking the spiritual aspect of it too is different.
Yeah.
But the practical aspect of it is that
From the business side.
is that you still have to know people. And that's what
relationship.
it is relationship.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times if you just think you're going to get in because of your skill, sadly, that's not the case because there's so many skilled people that don't make it. And I think what happens, and this is where, telling my kids, because my daughter, she sees the success that I've had, and of course is like, well, I want to do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I have to tell her, well, God may give you a different measure. And so I think the difference of encouraging her is going, I've seen so many bands that get into this and they don't reach this place where they think they should reach. And so they get jaded and bitter and cynical and they blame it on the record company didn't do this. And it's very sad because then they won't either continue on, or I've seen people denounce their faith because they didn't reach a certain status they felt like they deserved. And the entitlement generation that we live in a little bit.
Yeah.
And so, me trying to disciple or talk to these young musicians, just saying that God may put you and give you a different measure of success. And the measure of success for the world's eyes is that it's bigger. But in the realm of God's eyes, it's how faithful you are with what God's given you.
Yes.
And I kind of use this analogy a lot. And it's, let's say like for me, I've been given this, and if you're listening, I'm given this, my arms are really far apart, this big responsibility.
Yeah.
But I'm only faithful with like a tiny bit of that. But then someone's given this responsibility that maybe playing in front of 100 people a night and they do a great job and they're really faithful with that. And 100% with that, they've been more faithful in the eyes of the Lord and more successful in that than
really great.
I have been. And so it's not how big it is, it's how deep it goes. And I think that's the key with any ministry is that everyone sees, and I think we see in social media, there's an expectation of something being big. And that's the issue with this next generation is that there's a crazy expectation of
pressure
and being big or not being real because you want this persona of something that's not real. And so there's a pressure there, and there's anxiety and depression because of the things that we're exposing ourselves to and not, comparing ourselves to. And of course, comparison is the ultimate robber of joy, as we all know. When you compare yourself to something, it's going to be terrible. And so my encouragement is just saying, you just be faithful with what God's given you. It doesn't mean you don't work hard. Like I've worked my tail off, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's ultimately the Lord that's opened the doors, you know what I mean? And I've worked hard with what he's given me, but he's given me this measure and I need to be faithful with that.
Yeah.
And so I encourage my daughter, hey, I don't know if you're going to have a big platform, but the one that you do have, use it for his glory.
Yeah.
So it could be for a small amount of people and use it for his glory. He'll bless that.
Yeah.
How about like the differing, tracks to take when it comes to like, do I need to go the traditional like release route way?
Right.
With TuneCore and all these different
Right.
options open, how important is a record deal versus like, I got my own little like garage band set up, create some incredible songs, be able to put them out myself.
Right.
Like, how do you negotiate that?
I still think we're I think for new artists still, there is a relevance to a label, to be honest. And I do encourage people, like, don't just give up everything, still be wise in that. And if you do something, do the shortest amount of deals possible. I mean, back in the day, like, people would sign 6 album deals with a terrible record deal. And then of course you get to a point where they're just kind of,
and they might shelve you, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh, totally.
They could shelve you, or they're living off, they're not putting much into you because you're the one who's working so hard. But then I think as a new artist, you have to understand that there's benefits to a system, that they do know how to get things out there. You know what I mean?
Really
And radio, it's just a part of it, but it all depends on what you want. You know what I mean? But I think that if you're a little more established, I think that you can start to do things on your own. I don't think the traditional album thing, I think for a new artist, maybe.
Yeah, how do you see that changing in the land of the EP?
I think that EPs or albums are still relevant for, once again, a new artist. Because I think that people want to hear
what are they capable of,
and who are these people and what are they going to write. But after that, I think even with me, we're kind of trying to transition of going, I think putting out a song and then a song 2 months later and just putting out songs.
We've got such a single generated society.
And it's quick fixes. And I think albums anymore are just not irrelevant, but like for instance, I had a new record come out in October. And for me, I feel like, I feel like it's one of my best records I put out and I'm really excited about it. And there's so many songs on that are so strong, but because people will generate or be drawn to like the radio singles or that they miss out on the whole thing. So I'm kind of like, well, that was not a waste, but you know what I'm saying? I'm kind of like.
Well, for most artists, you would do a whole album like that, but only 2 or 3 songs get in a sense released to the public.
Yeah.
And so as artists, we're going, well, why are we pouring our heart and soul into 12 songs?
Gosh.
Yeah, it's true.
If only 2 are really going to be picked.
That's so interesting.
At this point. And for Jeremy, obviously, he doesn't need to establish his career anymore. So it's just kind of,
So I don't know. Wow. I think it's just, it is different. I think that no matter what.
And no one's really even getting the physical CD.
No, not
especially
at all.
in a day without touring. Because that's really changed for you too, because a majority of stuff would be sold at physical dates. People would get the CD, get this, signature on it, that kind of that's just different.
Oh, 100% different. And then you also have there's so many artists now. So it's almost like it's been, I don't know, what would be the term? Where it's watered down,
diluted, yeah.
Diluted. That's a better term. So it's very diluted in a sense where before there's about 30 artists out there. So then you go to probably see all of them at one point because they'll kind of come through your city. Well, now there's hundreds of artists that are all trying to do something. And so everything's diluted where it's like.
It's noisy.
It is. It's very noisy. And so you have to do something and really know that you're called to do something and be assured in your heart that like, you know what, no matter what happens, I know I'm called.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to do it, even though it might not be what I think it should be. And I think that's the key is that everyone has to go into it with a different expectations nowadays because it's diluted. Everything looks different. Social media tells you to do this and do that. And you got to say, all right, eyes on you, Lord. What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
You lead me and direct me.
What aspects of the business side of things were you least equipped and least prepared for? And obviously you have the creative side, and I feel like for every person there's comparable takeaways.
Right.
They're not all going to be platinum selling recording artists but I feel like in ministry I see like, hey, I was prepared for preaching Bible studies,
right?
But also there's a CEO side to ministry,
100%.
and I wasn't really given set up for success in that. So for every mom, like there's parts of being a mom you were ready for, parts of it you like, oh, I didn't know this was a thing.
Yeah.
So what were the parts that you guys weren't prepared for or set up for success in navigating?
I think
Good question.
you're not set up to understand when all the finances come in, to be honest.
Yeah.
The CEO thing, what to do with those things and how to properly be wise and how to properly save, and to realize too, like, oh yeah, this all comes in, but there's massive taxes that go out. So
That's a big
you're
lesson
spending.
learned.
It's a massive lesson because you're spending
40%, baby.
Yeah.
That.
So you're
going to be a big bill coming.
It is. And so I would, when
that.
I first started just being super honest, I'd get this big chunk in the fall, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And then, so I'm like,
What's that website for gstar.com?
whatever it is, whatever that is.
Right.
And then all of a sudden the spring comes and like, it's gone and I have a tax bill, but then I get my next royalty in the spring and I'm like, oh, okay, well, at least but I use that whole thing to pay my taxes.
Yes.
So I had to learn.
You're getting to that, like, I'm behind now, and you're the tail, not the head.
It was
I feel like
perpetual.
there's a lot of people that maybe not realize, I'm getting money now that is actually money for the next 10 years, or this is the greatest money earning power I'll have in my life right now.
Yes.
And not realize this may not last.
Investment.
Doesn't. Yeah,
all
exactly.
that.
So I think that you're not prepared for that. You're not.
Yeah.
So we had to learn, and luckily I'm thankful. Like we got to get through it and like learned a lot. But I think also just the pressures of things of how to deal with people. In your group.
You're leading an organization.
Leading an organization and how to deal with that, or how to deal with all of a sudden people want so much from you, and how to navigate saying no to things because you're saying yes to everything and then you're burnt out. I found myself burnt out a couple times, where I had to regroup. And I feel like that a few years ago, I had another close to kind of burnout moment that God really got me and kind of.
Is this when you were having those panic attacks?
Yeah, it was 3 years ago. And
if you feel cool talking about it,
100%.
That could be really helpful, especially in this age of COVID, where I feel like more people have been. I mean, God, the last couple of years, it's been anxiety. Everything you hear is anxiety's on the rise, and now it's like pressure cooker.
Yes.
Income, diseases. Wear a mask. You're going to get fined if you don't wear a mask. Oh, racial tension, rioting in the streets. I feel like it's this like Molotov cocktail of stress right now.
So, it was literally after that trip with my daughters to Uganda, I found myself there. And to make a long story short, so what happened was,
or a short story long.
Or a short story long. Let's make a short story long. Because that's what it will be. I talk a lot. So, we're dealing with a friend, and this is kind of, I'll give you a little background, dealing with a friend that we loved, looked up to, respected.
Someone very close.
That we found out had an addiction problem to pain medication. And so, of course you're like, hey, let's walk through this, and, I'm not going to judge you. Like, let's work it out.
Yeah.
And so we went through some time of dumping pills down and, for them. And then all of a sudden it was like, they keep going back, and then they started getting justified. And then to the point where you're going, I feel like I'm crazy here, but this isn't right? Like, this is not right. So then it started getting to the point where I started getting, because as an addict, they manipulate and they try to bend things. And so I started getting, like, it was my fault. Like I was too sensitive, or I was, not gracious, or whatever it was. Wow. And I'm going, no, I feel like in my spirit, this isn't right. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, and we did the love and tried to help walk through, but then it became that. So there was some trust issues that started happening there. So let's go there. So then, of course, you start talking about the movie a little bit, and things get brought up again. As you guys know, there's things you have to deal with still over the years. It's like grief. It's almost like a scar. When you go through grief, it's not like an open wound anymore when you start to, in a sense, heal up. But there's a scar there. So when situations arise where you look down and you're like, there's the scar, and you kind of remember the pain.
Yes.
So that's always there.
Right.
So those start to kind of get brought up again. And then with that, with a distrust and then a feeling of grief and all that, I started feeling that I was trying to control things. So I went to Uganda, and I had this, the whole time was freaked out that my daughters were going to get yellow fever or get, malaria. Like I just had this very irrational feeling that, and I wasn't trusting the Lord. I was trying to control. So we got back home, and things were, I thought getting a little better. I'm like, okay, I'm home now, because we went from Uganda to Israel and Italy, like all in a 2-month period.
Just a crazy.
It was, daughters were getting sick, bad. One daughter.
We got the actual H1N1 flu.
Yeah, so my daughter, so it was getting crazy. So I'm going, it's happening, that something's going to happen to my kids. And as you guys know, when you go through something, sometimes you have those like, something going to happen.
Yes.
It's part of that, you have to wrestle with and have the new normal, and it's an everyday trust thing. So I all of a sudden one day they were gone and I was at home working out, and I all of a sudden started feeling this weird rise of something. And all of a sudden I started panicking and I couldn't breathe. And I found myself on the ground, like freaking out. I called her. I was like, please come home. And I'm weeping and I'm freaking out. And I feel like I'm going to die. Like, I'm like, I can't breathe. And they come home, and I went through this dark spiral where there was times when I sat there and I was like, what if I die? And what if there is nothing? What if there is no God? Never felt that way before. Even when I was just really the enemy, weird, dark things.
Amygdala,
100%. And so I was going through this really anxious, couldn't breathe. And she was like a warrior. Like talk about, like I got to brag about my wife. Like she would lay her hands and just constantly pray on me and like against the enemy and against these attacks. Until finally one day I'm laying my head on her lap weeping. And I'm apologizing, saying, I'm so sorry, I'm a weak man.
So you feel so humbled.
Yeah. I was like, I'm so sorry, I'm a weak man. Like I'm apologizing for I can't even keep myself together. And finally I said, God, what is it? Like, why? Why am I going through this? And I cried out to the Lord, and he said, you're bitter towards that close person.
Wow.
And you're literally not trusting me with anything. Wow. Like, your family, your finances, your friends, your future, like nothing. Like you are trying to hold on to everything.
Wow.
Until I finally just went, I'm sorry, I repent, I'm sorry. And it started lifting. That kind of just started lifting. And, I realized that.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah, absolutely.
It wasn't just a moment of repentance. I mean, we got on our knees, both of us.
Asking the Lord to dig out junk.
Yeah, I mean, day after day after day after day. So
it's interesting how much things you go through can affect you in ways where you don't realize it.
Yeah.
And it's not right then and there.
Yeah.
It's like, to use like a fish analogy, like, right, like we were talking about sharks earlier, like they may swim through a net or get a hook in their mouth. And it doesn't affect them. The injury in the moment is not the same. They carry it for a long time. Yeah. And a lot of lions, I was stunned to find out that lions most often, the most dangerous thing to them is a porcupine, not a rhino or an elephant, but a porcupine, because they'll get a little quill in them and it stays and gets infected, and they can eventually lose their teeth or lose the power to hunt because they were sniffing a porcupine. They get the quill in there, and they might be carrying that quill for years and gets infected. And the things you went through, it may not be right then and there, but the body does keep track, and it hangs with you. And then down the road, it's got to be dealt with one way or the other. And it can have a tremendous, powerful,
massively
impact on you.
Yeah.
So
you can't muscle your way through that.
Can't.
No.
And I could not.
It's scary.
It was very scary. So I remember just that constant, and it was repentance is what it was. You know what I mean?
And working through that, I imagine, in counseling and
Totally.
Oh yeah. And working through just the trust thing and where did it come from, and then realizing, wow, there's a lot of things from the past. I mean, all those things.
Yeah.
And I think that.
And some PTSD probably.
100%.
I'd imagine what you faced with Melissa. I mean, that stuff is powerful.
Yes.
It cuts so deeply.
As you guys know.
For sure. And our response, much like yours, when Melissa went home to heaven, I watched you pour yourself into it.
Yeah.
Our kind of, I don't regret anything necessarily, but looking back, our response when Lenny went to heaven was to a little bit like pour all of the grief into ministry.
Yes.
To an unhealthy degree,
Totally.
perhaps. Say yes to everything. We're going to honor Lenny's legacy and,
tours, going out, telling everyone about Jesus, because we don't know how long we have. So, and looking back, it's like
all
that makes
things.
so much sense, because it's
100%.
like we want to tell the world that there's a God who loves them, because we don't know how much time we have. We don't know how much time anyone has. Like, our lives are short. Like, what do we?
But you can't sustain that.
But you can't. Yeah. And eventually, you have to reconcile and stop and breathe and deal.
Yeah.
It's really, at some point, you have to go through it.
Yeah.
And I think the hard thing is that it's the most painful thing. So you don't want to go through it. You don't want to face it, and
it's avoiding that.
It is, but eventually it's like, you have to just deal head on with some of those
suffering
things.
is a necessary part of what we go through here.
Yeah.
And it's hard to say that, but it just really is. And even having that pain, you got to think about, if you didn't have nerves and didn't feel pain, then you could be sitting there on your arm on a fire and not realizing all of a sudden your arm's
leprosy,
burned.
right?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, it's like leprosy, because that's what happened. No nerves, no pain. So pain is good. We don't like it, but it's a necessary part of dealing with things and feeling and saying, okay, that's not a good spot to be in, you know what I mean?
Right.
And moving from there. And I just learned too that what you were saying as well is not all good things are God things. What I mean by that is not all things that look like they're good opportunities or good things are something that God is calling you to do. And not to over spiritualize it, because a lot of times people say, just go and then God will give you the red flag or tell you to stop. And I do sometimes agree with that, to be honest.
Yeah.
And then there's times where it's like, I found myself realizing, you know what, I don't feel like that God gave me the strength to do that because I wasn't called to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not overthinking it, but going, yeah, that was me just going, that's a great opportunity. And not asking the Lord, do you want me to do this? Because I have 5 other things going on and I'm just wearing myself thin on all of them instead of being really good at 1 or 2 of them. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you want to be the most effective.
Yeah.
So
Thanks for sharing.
I feel like
that
this
story.
pandemic, though, has been a chance for all of us to a little bit find out what about our rhythms beforehand weren't sustainable or weren't, or maybe things that we thought were healthier than they were.
100%.
When you have to actually sit in the silence and to sit in the stillness. And for me, to not be distracted by the constant takeoffs and landings and the adrenaline rush, I found myself a lot of excess adrenaline in the system that would get utilized for, the next time zone change.
Totally.
And then all of a sudden, like, oh, and now what? It's a different thing.
Well, I think in social media became almost a gauge of us realizing how we felt like we had the need to do something. And I finally...
Frenetic.
It was for everybody.
Yes.
And I'm not saying it was bad because I felt like there was, for all of us, there was necessary things. And of course, being a pastor, you're wanting to talk. But like, there's also times when I just saw everyone trying to just pivot and constantly, instead of going, God kind of spoke to my heart. We were doing an interview one time and a lot of us, I was kind of sitting there talking and I felt like God just gave me a word. I was like, you know what? I feel like a lot of us are just trying to get through quarantine to like the new normal. And God's saying, I want to get through to you during quarantine.
Dang,
and where
that's
you're
so
just
good.
going, what is it you're teaching me during this? Because I think the rubber meets the road when you are forced to deal with what's actually happening in your heart.
Yep.
And this has made us actually, where is my relationship with the Lord?
Yes.
And
Or
then
my wife,
my
or my
wife
kids,
or my
or my
kids.
husband.
How
Yes.
is that? Like, because we're all forced to be with one another. We're all forced to be a little bit more in silence. All of us don't like it. That's why we're kind of maintaining constantly on social media and doing things. And like I said, there's been great benefits to that. But I think I've really been like, okay, stop. Like, stop with the noise. And I told, even with, management and record company, they're like, you gotta, when you're doing your next live.
Get out there.
Yeah.
And I just finally went, you know what? There's so much noise that if I do something, I want to do something that actually is something that I feel like God's saying, let's do this right now.
Good.
And we've been doing that. And it's been so fruitful. Like 4 days. And this is actually bad for the label, not for the label, but in a sense, because everyone saw this big thing. So we recorded a song. This is crazy. So we recorded a song 5 days after they shut my tour down. My movie came out. It was the #1 movie in America, the night it came out. And we're like, this is going to be amazing.
great.
This is like the biggest, thing ever. And all of a sudden, like, nope, it's done.
FYI, you can't go to a movie theater.
Right.
Forever.
For a long time.
Forever.
Forever. Sorry, I just got the reference.
What will it be like in movie theaters?
I don't know.
Like, how is that industry going to... Did you hear the Walmart thing?
No.
Walmart's opening 200 drive-in movie theaters all across the country in their parking lots in the
You're
next
kidding.
month. That's an incredible
that's
move.
cool.
They're going to transition the
brilliant.
side of their buildings. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a very smart move.
It's a very smart move.
Sorry.
Oh, no, that was
Yeah.
really good. I like that. I'm like,
But
my brain starts going
like,
now.
"Ooh,
Like,
maybe
okay,
that
how
can
can
be
I
released.
play
I
there?
still play.
I know.
How do I get to be a part of that?
Yeah.
So,
Oh my gosh.
So a few days later, 5 days later, so I'm kind of in shock.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't even know what to say. I don't know how to address anybody on social media. Like,
No.
Well, I'm feeling
No.
down, to be
Feeling
honest with
down.
you, because we
It
were
was-
excited.
Yeah, it was
been working
depressing.
up for years for the release of
So
the
imagine
movie,
like running
Yeah.
100 miles per hour in one direction, how things were just going, and then feeling like you hit a brick wall and having to be stunned and go,
Disoriented.
what do I do now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So
Gosh.
I'm
That's
sitting
a
there.
very good picture.
Oh.
We all felt to watch
All of
myself
us.
in my head of what I was like in the
Totally.
first couple of weeks. Okay, we're going to figure this out. Burn the midnight oil.
Finally going, just stop. So
I'm tired.
So that's what it was. It was like, I'm tired. I just need to take.
I heard someone say recently, because I'm a 3, that when 3s are unhealthy or super healthy, they become 9s. And a 9's a Jennie. So like, but I feel like that so resonates with me. When I'm unhealthy or feel very safe, I can be at peace with the world and care about, just chilling out. And, anyhow.
That's
I love that.
interesting.
But it took me a couple weeks of the pandemic, maybe 2 months of the pandemic.
I love you said maybe 2 months. That was me. It was a couple months.
What day is it?
I'm like,
it's July 3rd today.
Maybe a week ago, I kind of started.
I'm getting there. I plan on tomorrow becoming a 9. Yeah.
Wow.
So we're sitting there, and this kind of gives you a foreshadowing of what I started kind of dealing with pressure-wise. But then I stepped back and went, no, when I released this song, because I wrote it, I sat there one day and I woke up and I wrote this song. I was like, hey, you want to just record it and put it on Facebook and Instagram? She was like, sure. So we're singing it, and they put it up on Facebook and Instagram. And then like a week later, it had like 8 million views.
Dang.
And we're like, never had that
Wow.
ever in my career that quick of views. So I'm going.
Well, it was literally us in our kitchen. It wasn't a fancy
dude,
setup
dude,
at all.
Awesome.
You know,
It's kind of the point, right?
Yeah.
Totally, yeah.
And so of course that made everyone go, do all this. And so then I'm starting to like
You
try
need to
to
strategize on the next one.
That's exactly
Literally.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it was such a heartfelt response because it came out of a place of Jeremy really struggling and just going, okay, Lord, I need you to meet me here.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
So we finally, I started the process of like, okay, what do we do? And then I finally said, no, I'm not doing anything until I feel like, and that's what we've been doing. And it's been so much more, like we did a couple of weeks where we didn't address anything. I mean, I post some things, but not like address social media or anything. And I feel like when we did though, there was actually things that came out that we felt like we wanted to say or needed to say.
Yeah.
And it felt like it was impactful.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what I'm learning is just going, you can put out all the content you want, but what's the point unless it's led by the Holy Spirit?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I've really learned that so much more in this time is just going, there's a lot of noise.
Yeah.
And I really want to be led by the Holy Spirit because that's going to break through the noise. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And there's a lot of people that are breaking through the noise, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, maybe they're supposed to break through the noise and I'm not.
Yeah.
And we need to be okay with that.
Yeah.
Because if the gospel is being presented, people's lives are being encouraged, and God's
Yes.
using somebody else, awesome.
Amen.
You don't have to be the ones that are always used. And I think that was for me going, I don't have to be the one that's used. Because everyone's going, you're out there though, and millions of people have watched your movie, so they're all looking at you right now. And so I felt this pressure.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, because if I don't give them anything of substance, what's the point?
Right.
How have you
Gosh.
felt like being that your name is a brand?
Right. Right.
Which is positive and negative.
Yeah.
You know, it could be quick to be like, well, that's not biblical. It's like, well, Paul and Apollos were that way. You know,
Yeah.
John was that way, you know.
Totally.
So whatever, you know, on that. But God's the God of Abraham. So like that,
Right.
but that name's also kind of a brand. You know what I mean? Like, so I mean, you think like your name's a
good.
brand.
Right. Right.
People have T-shirts that have your name on them, you know, and probably some with Benjamin Gate on them.
Yeah,
Yes.
Those hardcore rockers
totally
in the
have
orange
some-
hair mohawk.
Yeah.
Yep.
But like, what for you? How have you felt stifled by coming to a place, waking up on a day when you realize that Jeremy Camp, the person, isn't the same version of Jeremy Camp, the brand that existed at one point or exists in some people's minds? How have you found yourself stifled by what you created?
Wow.
I think a lot of people, you know, they didn't really know who I was. You know what I mean? So that people would just be like, oh, Jeremy, and they kind of had this perception of who I am. And then a lot of people, like, I remember somebody who works at the label, who was a good friend of mine, who just went to work for the label like 2 years ago. And he goes, I realize being here talking to, this is Capital, talking to all these people that they love you, but their idea of you isn't the fun guy. It's the like serious preaching the gospel, like, and they don't really know that side of you that like can hang out and laugh and be goofy. Cause like he knows me as like the goofy cheese ball, like that just likes to have fun, but has depth, but just like, I'm like, oh yeah, you're probably right. Now on stage, I would probably be a little more of myself, I guess. You know, I mean, but I take myself not seriously, but I take myself seriously in what I'm called to do. So when I'm presenting something,
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to make sure that I'm doing this properly.
Right.
But I think it might have stifled a little bit of just me being super transparent. And I think that a few years ago when I started sharing about this, in a sense, breakdown that I went through, would you call it, panic attacks and stuff.
Yeah.
And then us writing this book and being very transparent.
Which is interestingly very common for people who, you know, like are well known and in the public eye and carry that pressure.
Yes.
You know, Joel Houston has been real open about his real, you know, dark season.
For sure.
And it also does seem to be, coincidentally or not, very close to the 40th birthday. You know, 2 years on the other side of it.
Yeah.
You know, so
Wow.
it's interesting, you know, and a lot of young men in our country around that mark are really falling into despondency and disillusionment and tragically suicide, you know, in so many times. So it's not like a cliche in the I'm doing this, like, but there's real powerful forces at work in the midst of that.
Absolutely.
And I think that complete just being, once again, not laying out your dirty laundry. And, you know, if anybody doesn't know what that really means, it's people that just like, it's just who I am.
That's what I do at the foot of the bed after a trip when I open my suitcase.
Yes, I do too,
Back
by
when
the way.
that was a thing.
I know, right?
I know.
The sad thing
Back
is
in
when
the
you have to
day,
go pack your next suitcase, but you haven't unpacked the last one.
my
Oh, that's me.
gosh.
Hello.
Yeah.
I just sometimes live out of the suitcase at home for a while
Right?
too. I know where everything
Exactly.
is, and 4 days from now I'm on a trip again. So why even move the Dop Kit stuff back to the
We've
drawer?
done that laundry straight out the case just to put it right back in.
100%.
It's sad.
But
I was going to say,
Oh.
I think from my perspective, even watching Jeremy,
His evolution.
Yeah.
How is
Yeah,
he
but the-
different than who he was?
Well, the pressure that's placed on him is enormous. And as much as like people don't realize, but the Christian music industry is very competitive.
Yeah.
And so it's ranked by #1 singles. It's ranked by album sales. And so here you have Jeremy. I mean, when I
Not
met
the
him.
Christian music industry.
I know, shocker,
not the
right?
Dove Awards.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so it's so hard because when I met him, he was so ministry orientated. That literally was, I mean, it's the same thing. You guys get it. It's like,
Yeah.
it was all about heaven. It was about Jesus. It was about ministering and just sharing the gospel.
Yeah.
And then having to come into this industry where there's so much pressure put on you. And then obviously God was the one who opened the doors. And so then it does translate into people buying albums and CD sales and #1 singles because
A machine gets built.
It does.
And
A machine.
so-
Mouths to feed.
Yes.
Exactly.
And you have to feed the
Right.
machine.
Yeah.
you
And
know?
so then after that, it's just this constant pressure of, well, we have to have
Maintaining.
#1 singles and we have to have this. And so to keep your heart pure in those seasons is such a struggle.
Yeah.
And it's like you've got to be really intentional to just kind of walk this fine line of having this business and this machine run, but at the same time going, God, I want to honor you.
Yeah.
Like our
We're
heart
led
at the
by
end
you.
of the day is that this has to be about Jesus and it has to be about God's kingdom because I can't save anybody.
Right.
And if people are just drawn to me, then we're all
In
screwed.
trouble. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? It's because I can't do anything to get you your salvation. It's nothing. There's nothing good in us apart from Jesus, and so we build this brand in a sense for everyone to look at us. But and the pressure is just absolutely enormous.
Because it's basically it's set up to people are constantly either trying to maintain
Yeah.
or regain. So maintain what they have or regain what they once had.
Yes.
And so it's a constant battle to do that. And we're not made to take that on. You know, it's something that it's the Lord that actually gives the increase, you know.
Yeah.
And so
God protects us. The reason why God is saying, I will take the glory isn't because he's this crazy, selfish, narcissistic person. It's literally
can't
because
handle
it
it.
corrupts us.
Yeah.
And it's out of protection for our own souls, you know.
because it corrupts us. And I think that we've been set up in the industry in a sense to compete, which I wish, it's almost like you wish the Dove Awards or the Caleb Awards or all these different awards would actually be highlighting people in ministry that aren't, and have musicians play to like have a great night together, to come together, but to highlight those and just say, we're going to honor you. Because what happens is we breed this competition because, oh no, you're not #1, but you are.
Yeah, right.
And I'm not saying because I've done well. So it's fun because I can kind of say, because I've been in that position.
Yeah.
And so, but I can also see like those people that never win anything feel like less than.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Right.
that's not the case. I mean, once again, in the eyes of the Lord, we've gotten our awards in a sense.
Gosh.
I mean,
It's a funny thing.
and so it's like to have that, I wish it was a different, I wish there wasn't a gauge of success that way because it's bred a whole different competition.
Beautiful perspective. Gosh.
I made the decision a while back to pull stuff off of our archive of teachings from, we started the church 14 years ago, and now I'm like, let's just keep it to the last 2 years. Yeah. Because I felt like I needed permission to grow, to evolve, to not have stuff out there that was necessarily communicated from a spirit and a heart that today I don't even believe anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Completely,
And
totally.
finding the freedom to challenge things that I've been told, but maybe didn't find to be
100%.
true of God as I read the Bible myself.
Yes.
To figure out, and it can be difficult to feel like I'm not the same person that I once was, but I meet
100%.
people who are I can tell they're not actually talking to me. They're talking to the version of me that they either fell in love with or read a book by, or,
Right.
this is the idea
exactly
of
what
who
you
I
mean.
am in their minds. I met someone, it's hard. Like, you meet someone and they're like, hey, I took a minute to talk to them because they recognize my voice from maybe like a K-Love teaching clip or something.
Right.
And I talked to him for a minute and they're like, that's really cool that you took the time to talk with me. I never would have thought you would, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they were just completely telling me, my image of you is that you're, just totally like gonna blow me off and not care about me.
Yeah.
And so I was like, thanks for thanks for disappointing me by being nice. I was like, basically, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just interesting.
Wow.
Once someone does become in your head who they think you are, it's very difficult to not,
Totally.
I don't know. That's how
Yeah.
have you struggled against that?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing. I mean,
Wow.
I think that, or they'll put me in the category, of course, when I was young and way more just. I was pretty cut and dry because I came in the industry coming to a place where I was broken from everything that had gone on, and very black and white, very 8, like challenger, like all,
You were
but really
also 25 years old.
24, yeah.
24.
And-
Yeah. It's like, you're young.
So-
Just figuring
I was,
life
you know,
out.
was
And we were
only
babies having
19 when I
babies.
It was,
too.
babies having babies.
100%.
Who we are.
So,
Yeah.
so I probably had, but I also was, she knows, I loved everybody. So I wasn't.
much so.
So everyone kind of thought I was really big and they're like,
Which is a
here's
strong personality.
I was a strong personality, but
yeah.
I was very loving. But also, if you didn't know me, I can come across whatever way you think I can come across. So I had, conflict with things. But when I first started, I went to a Dove Award week doing interviews, and what I saw there, I would weep in the hotel room at night because I was so brokenhearted about what I saw, like the competition, all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
People always shake your hand and be like, before I was nobody, and they'd be like, oh yeah, nice to meet you, and look around the room to see who else was there. That's more
gosh.
important, So I was brokenhearted. So I think that perception in things that maybe I would say or how I'd act, I'm completely different. And there's people that just knew me from then, and I'm like, hey, I'm completely different. Like I have grown tremendously and walked
and
through
even
life.
music styles as well. It's like,
Right.
Jeremy now has
When I-
released an album that was completely different from his first album stylistically. But then it's funny to hear people's comments of like, just go back to where you were.
You've
and it's
changed,
like,
man.
bro,
I hope so.
Yeah, I hope I've
I
changed.
know.
I hope I've
Thank you.
grown.
Totally.
I hope
That was the point,
That's
kind
the
of, wasn't
point.
it?
I mean, because that's
Yeah.
20 years ago. Like we've
Yeah.
literally been in the industry that long,
Yeah.
And so just going, there's a reason why we need to be growing. And I hope we always do, I hope that I'm not in 20 years again, still, like I hope that there's seeking the Lord and changing and
Yes.
things about
I would hope
me that
so.
have, grown.
Yeah,
And
You guys have been married almost 17 years.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys you love each other. You're sweet. You're still writing. You're not jaded. I mean, that's really incredible and quite an
Yeah.
accomplishment in
Yeah.
an industry that can chew people up and
Right.
spit them out
Right.
We've
like
been
crazy.
jaded. I
We've
have
had
been
those,
definitely
but
had
it's
to fight
being
against
willing.
that,
It's being willing
Yeah.
to and allow people in your life to speak into your life.
Yeah.
That's the key: is allowing those people to speak into your life.
Who have those people been for you guys?
Oh, our family in Franklin, the pastor.
Yeah, I was gonna
Steve-
say, we have-
Steve Berger and Sarah and Mark Bright and
EJ and Janice. We've got just a solid group of people. And then Matt Baum, his manager,
is
is really
legit.
more of a best friend. It feels always weird to say
manager.
manager because he's literally,
And he'll call me out. He'll say,
Yeah.
"You're being a brat right now."
Oh, good.
And here's a guy that I
Yeah.
can fire. I mean, I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
but
But he has permission and feels safe enough
I've allowed
to
him.
confront you in that way.
100%.
So allow
Yeah.
people in your life and
Yeah.
give them permission to say those hard things. Because if you don't,
That's
you're going to
so
get
wise.
off.
Yeah.
You're going to get off.
I literally think that some of those people have been there in such pivotal moments for us that I don't want to be dramatic, but I feel like they've even saved our marriage in a sense because
Yeah.
they've been a safe place for us
Wow.
to where we were butting heads so badly at points or needed people to speak into our lives that they were the ones that did, but it took us being transparent
Yeah.
with them.
It's interesting.
You know?
Did you watch The Last Dance? Michael Jordan.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yes.
Totally. I was like, wait,
Amazing.
that sounds familiar.
Well,
Oh my
it's funny how he
it was
found
so
that
good.
in that security figure, his
Yes.
security guard.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
that became for him, that was like a place that grounded him. It gave him
Yeah.
safety.
Yeah.
It wasn't someone who wanted something from him. He didn't have to be Michael Jordan around him.
Yes.
He was able to just be a human being. And it almost like he created a father-like figure in him.
Yes.
And it was
Totally.
interesting for me to watch how much his father and the arc of his story and career really did look for him, line up with him needing to look for someone to be a dad to him. In
Absolutely.
that way.
Yeah.
It's so key to our growth. I mean, we were talking about changing and stuff, and I love this quote. It says, growing things change and changing things grow.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, if you're going to grow, you're going to change. And when you change, you're going to grow.
Yeah.
You know, and
Beautiful.
I think, or in an organization, sometimes you got to change things and then you'll grow. And
That's
so
the challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Because I feel like who we are as leaders, the church we lead now is so different from how we began, but we're excited to watch that, and we need people on the journey with us that we can give space to grow for them and for ourselves as well. And then I think that you have to have that, or you age out, you know, and you're not
100%.
relevant, you're not communicating. Yeah.
I was just telling Jeremy I'm reading an amazing book right now, and I was just talking about the tools that people used 20 years ago to reach the last, and we're dealing with a completely different generation, you know what I mean? And so we have to change the tools that we use
Not the
as
message,
ministers, not
just
the
the
message,
tool.
never compromise the message.
Of course.
But it's learning to evolve and change as people, you know what I mean?
And as we increasingly are in a post-Christian.
Yes.
That's exactly
what
yeah.
it
And I
is.
think a lot of churches that are growing are actually still kind of riding off the energy of what is no longer still happening in our country, and I don't see the writing on the wall of the change and the stratospheric intersection we're at now with this moment culturally and sociologically, and what that's going to look like for doing evangelism, for communicating the gospel in this day where America is not the Bible Belt, you know, quote unquote Christian nation that it once was.
No.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Speaking of health, what do you guys do to keep sane health wise? I mean, you guys obviously you mentioned working out at home.
Yeah.
Was that something you did prior to COVID?
Yeah, I've always worked, but like we bought a Peloton.
Oh yeah.
And that actually has been
Peloton.
amazing. But I've kind of learned, because I played football and I did sports, and I've studied a lot of health. So what's funny is I'm talking about doing a fitness app and some things, but that's a whole other
Good
thing.
call.
Ooh, that's
Now, who's your
awesome.
favorite instructor on Peloton?
Allie Love.
Oh, you like
too.
Allie
She's
Love?
my favorite.
Jennie's an
She
Allie
just
Love
did a
girl.
Whitney Houston ride, and it freaked me
I've
out. It
been
was so
all this.
amazing.
Oh my
He's
God.
great. I like him.
I gotta do that one.
He's just
It's amazing.
mellow. And I think Dennis Morton, I like him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Alex Toussaint.
Yeah, Alex Toussaint.
He did a Last Dance ride that was fantastic. It was one of my favorite rides I ever did.
I'm
A
doing
Last
that.
Dance ride. You can find it in the archive. Interestingly enough, I have stopped doing their rides. I use the Peloton still, but end up just throwing something on Netflix.
For real?
I've
Yeah.
had that thought a couple times. I'm like,
You
I
can
might do
do
the
just
scenic
ride.
thing.
You can click just ride. It's
Listen to a
probably not as
podcast.
good of a workout. I would need to look at the calories to compare it to. But I, at some point, I just went, nope, I don't need you anymore. And just, now the Peloton is more just for me. Like I might as well just have a stationary bike. Well, she doesn't ride it at all.
Oh, you don't?
She stopped riding. She broke her ankle, and so
That's
she still
right.
has not been on it. So I've been the only one on it lately.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I love it, and I'll get back into it.
And you're Allie Love.
soon. Allie Love's
Yeah.
my
Yeah,
she's great.
favorite.
She went and did one of her studio rides in New York and was one of the 30 people. And I did the ride at
kidding.
home
It was amazing.
and saw her in the front row.
Okay, we've got to do that. We need
That-
a
we should all-
I don't know if they're
Yes.
reopened, but you guys can buddy up and
Oh.
do the picture in picture because you can
Yes.
add a friend and then actually see their sweaty face.
You can?
Is that, oh
We
yeah.
don't-
haven't
you
done
don't
that
wanna-
yet.
We'll
Yeah,
just
so the
be buddies.
Peloton's
We
got a
can high
camera.
five.
I don't know.
A camera at the top of the computer.
I
Yeah, I
get
know
so
that.
red
You can
faced
make
and
a buddy
disgusted.
and
I
you
was like,
appoint
why
the
would
ride.
someone
You
wanna
give
see
them
my face?
permission, and then they'll be able to see. You can see each other's faces sweating
I've-
throughout the ride.
No way, I'm never doing that because
It's
my
so
face probably
weird.
looks so stupid.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm not doing that. Yeah.
Totally.
I'm like dying.
Yeah.
We take
It's
a
hard to
ton of-
look cool going up a hill on a pretend bicycle.
Totally. When you're out of the saddle and
Have you ever
sweating.
road biked at all? Like out on the street?
Yeah.
Like, not like a motorcycle, like a road bike.
Yeah. I actually used to race BMX bikes when I was younger.
You said that's your favorite smell. The smell of your childhood. In your book, you said the
BMX bike?
smell of childhood for you is BMX bike, and for you is the smell of the ocean.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Got a good memory.
Because
Yeah.
I
that
know
dirt
it really
and
does.
the.
What's the smell of childhood for you?
Oh my gosh, I don't know.
I know, isn't that hard? You're like on the spot right now.
Yeah, but
Like, can
when
you give me
do
time
feel
to think about
intense
this?
nostalgia kick in? So
I'll be able to tell you in like an hour after it's like nestled into
She's
my
like your
mind
guitar
a little
player.
bit.
Yeah. I need
I'm not
to.
ready
do
to
remember
commit.
that.
Process and
Process.
think about. Okay, let me
Yeah.
think about what it
What
really is.
exactly?
But
man, the
I think
smell of a Chuck E. Cheese hits
Really?
me. Like I can like. Yeah, I think the smell of a Chuck E. Cheese, maybe the smell of tennis balls when you open a can
Oh
of
yeah,
tennis
because that's
balls.
what you did.
I
That's
feel
right.
like maybe a kickball
The
smell.
sound of a kickball striking
smell
your
of
ankle.
Kickball.
Yeah, mine
The
definitely was
smell
BMX
of a
bike.
Foursquare. For me, the Foursquare ball.
The big one.
Yeah, remember Foursquare?
Oh yeah.
We used to play Foursquare with the tennis ball growing up.
Ooh.
South Africa.
So do you still play tennis?
Oh,
No, I did a little bit, but I haven't
And
for
not
years.
Jeremy, not you either.
No, I would play. I can actually. I'm decent at it because I know it sounds really silly, but I play sports and athletic,
He's
but I'm
athletic.
really good at ping pong.
If that hasn't come up
and there's
9
a
times,
weird,
I know.
and what's weird,
Just in case
by
you're
the way, if you don't know,
his
I play,
biceps are the size of my quads.
hey, I didn't say that, my wife did. No, but like, it's funny because ping pong, there's just a certain thing, that feel that you can kind of, after I play for a little bit and warm up with tennis, I can get that feel and play okay.
Yeah.
Like I can have fun with it.
That's so funny. Levi,
We have a
Levi
mini ping
loves
pong table. Have you ever played on a mini one?
No.
So it's just like 3/4 scale.
Let's do it.
So, but it's fun to then to go play regular ping pong after you've been playing on a while because you have to rein your game in so much.
Yeah.
It's like when, whenever we warm up playing tennis, we would start with just the 4 squares from the service lines.
Oh, dude.
And so then when you back it up, you really can open up because you force yourself to rein it in.
Let's do it, bro.
Yeah, okay.
I love ping pong.
yeah, okay.
So what other healthy
So-
things do you like to do?
So I've learned like a lot of just body only workouts. You know what I mean? So like, the push-ups, the sit-ups, and
Do you have a trainer come over or you do it
I
yourself?
I had a trainer like years ago.
I have an app. I've got 2 apps that I follow.
What are they?
Workout Woman and the Sweat app,
Ooh.
which I love.
What ones
Awesome.
do you use? You use apps.
I use the Nike app, which I love because I also have yoga, which I don't love, but I do some yoga-ish things with Olivia. That's kind of what we do. But then also there was this Pilates app that I used for a long time, but I don't use that anymore.
How many days a week do you train?
I probably work out 4 or 5 days a week, probably 4.
Yeah.
4. I mean, sometimes
How do you
5.
break down your body parts?
So
No.
basically, what I'll do is on, let's say Monday. So I'll do like chest and triceps and
It's like
all
a push-pull.
Yeah, push-pull, exactly. And then I'll end up doing biceps the next day, some legs. But the Peloton now is kind of taking over my legs because my knee is I'm getting old.
getting
Yeah, we're all,
old.
we're all
My
back,
knee's starting
knee
to
back,
hurt.
yeah.
So I'm actually not doing a lot of leg
Storm's coming in.
exercises.
My knees hurt.
Oh yeah, it was storming last night, and I felt it in my back. I think I heard that.
Yes.
It rained a little bit.
Get that Theragun out.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm using that.
Totally.
I woke up this morning and got that gun, and I was just going to town.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Felt so much
I
better.
really need to see if Theragun can become a sponsor on this podcast. I've
We
given
talked
this out
about it.
to so many
You
people.
probably talked about it a bunch of times,
Well,
right?
I did have a kind of a light partnership with their main competitor,
Oh, that's brilliant.
but the Theragun Mini is just hard to
It's
beat.
insane.
Yeah.
Well, I should be a endorser of Peloton. I talk about it all the time.
I know.
So I talk to
Yeah.
them.
Make it happen.
But we're
Sweet,
big on
sweet.
like even like food wise, super healthy, conscious.
What
and
kind of diet? Low carb or
low carb, low sugar.
Yeah.
That's basically. I mean, when you say is
not
it keto?
strict
Is
keto
it,
though? But
No,
like
not
a
strict
loose,
keto.
Yeah.
I do kind of a loose keto too.
Yeah.
Okay, it's kind of loose keto because I think for me,
You're obviously doing it better than me, but whatever, it's fine. I'm not bitter. I'm just saying.
Stop it.
Jeremy's very disciplined.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, I'm-
not as disciplined as he is.
yeah, like I'm pretty much like
Very committed.
So what's day 3 and day 4 then?
So so I don't do so what I don't do, and here okay, so let me give you a quick. So with all these workouts, this is why I want to do like an app. It's going to be kind of like a spiritual and physical kind of type
That's
thing
so
together.
cool.
But so a lot of these workouts or like P90Xs and Insanities and all that,
Yeah.
it's unrealistic. People like see these ripped people, or they do this exercise and they get ripped, but then once they stop, in a week, it's like, oh no. So then it's discouraging. So why not just stay fit? Just, eat healthy, work out, be consistent. So I'll just do like basic workouts, basic shoulders, basic, nothing crazy, just to maintain being fit.
Yeah.
Lightweight, heavyweight.
Lightweight. You know what I mean?
Define lightweight. So you're doing
So,
shoulder press. You're
I'm
doing like
doing-
a military press.
So I'm doing like, 45. You know what I mean? You just kind of
245.
Yeah.
So you're on dumbbells.
Yeah, dumbbells. Just doing 45 when I go to the gym and just do that. And it's real chill. Just because for one, as I'm getting older,
I
you don't
do
want
5.
You don't want to do too heavy
Same.
because it's not good for your joints
5.
anyway.
Right, right.
You
And
know what
how
I mean?
many like how many sets and how many reps would you be doing?
So everything is literally 3, and I'll do about 10 to 12 reps, sometimes 15 if I'm like, oh, I'm feeling it, but no less than 10, no more than 15. So
Yeah.
kind of in that in between. And I just found that that's a really good kind of basic overall thing, doing 3 sets of whatever body, part, and you stay just fit. You know what I
And
mean?
you
Like
avoid
you
and
do.
would you push new workouts to the app that people could do?
I would. I would do nutrition.
I think you should 100% do that app.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
And
gonna
have
tell
it
you
be
what it is, yeah.
subscription based,
Well, he-
It
like
is,
a
it
Disney
is.
Plus
Yeah.
kind of
It is.
thing. Yeah.
He's that's one thing. It's like, if people who know Jeremy well, like he loves music, but health
And you're
stuff
kind
and
of known around the world by your
supplements.
biceps. I mean, let's be real.
Totally.
Yeah.
I know.
It's the ridiculous, like, cliche thing that everyone
It
says
totally
as a joke
is.
about you. Well, I know Jeremy Camp's here, so it's...
Well, then but I'm like hanging with Tim Tebow. I'm like, he's way bigger than me.
He's
so then I'm kind of like,
massive.
I'm a musician. He was a football player,
Yeah.
but still,
have you worked out with him ever?
no, it scares me.
Yeah.
Okay, so like
Is his
the thing
extra-
about Tim Tebow, who's one of the most amazing human beings on the earth,
Oh, no, I love
so
him.
sweet.
is it's kind of like I was saying with Bob Goff.
Yes.
Where you're like, okay, so it's,
Okay,
so it's
I'm
all
the
real.
worst, but also
it's all 100%
inspired
real.
a little.
And the thing with Tebow is like, he's such a Boy Scout, and he has this. You're like, oh my gosh! But then you're like, when you just know when you get around him, you're gonna be like, okay, we're gonna find the chink in this armor. Ladies and gentlemen, there's not a chink in the armor.
I know.
Yeah.
We spent enough time with him. We were like, yeah, he is who he is.
Do you cheat day? He's like, I don't believe in cheat day. You're like, dang it. I do believe in cheat day.
Is that what he said?
All I can do for 6 days is go, cheat day's coming. Cheat day.
Right?
He's like,
Exactly.
I quit.
Ice cream.
On Thanksgiving, he doesn't cheat.
No, he does not.
He does a clean Thanksgiving meal, all keto approved Thanksgiving.
Boring.
But I wonder if that's
Live your
changed
life.
now that he's gotten married. I wonder if
No,
that's changed.
I've seen some videos, ladies and gentlemen. but it's who he is.
Yes.
And he's
100%.
being authentically him.
100%.
Okay, but all I'm saying, I think there's a space in the world for inspirational content.
Yes,
Mobile,
absolutely.
daily
Yep.
workouts,
Yeah.
but also messages,
Yeah.
marriage stuff in there in the
Totally.
app. Adrienne's Corner, like in the bottom of the app. Like,
Hey.
Oh, well,
Do you guys work out
talk about that.
together?
if Fresh Life doesn't work out, I'll come on board.
No, we
I'll
don't
help you
really. I mean, we've
strategize.
gone to the gym a couple times together, but I hate gyms.
Yeah.
Hate them.
Is that why you built a home gym?
And so
I did, but now at the place in the desert, I don't
we
have.
don't have it.
Where
Yeah.
do you work out at there?
So I work out at like
There's a gym
World's
that's
Gym.
like 5 minutes
but,
on the road.
But now that I've been doing, because I used to
And now
learn.
that masks are required, that's going to be
I won't
weird.
go. So I'm actually
Yeah.
learning how to do everything I need to do at home.
Wow.
And I'm actually enjoying it because I'm staying still pretty fit. I'm not
Yeah.
quite as big as I was, but I'm staying still fit because I'm eating really healthy.
Which is such a
and
big
riding the
component. It's a
Peloton.
huge-
Yeah.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're leaning out.
I'm leaning out. So I still feel like I'm toned. And that's the big thing I want to do is be like, hey, listen, here's a very attainable goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Staying fit, you know what I mean? Eating right and just maintaining. You don't have to
Yeah.
get ripped in this whole society where you have to be completely chiseled to the point of like
Yeah.
just weird.
Isn't
Yeah.
it weird when you watch movies from a different era, how different
Oh.
the ideal body shape
It's so
was, and is
different.
how that's morphed? Like Marlon Brando.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, and you just see now the expectation is regardless of role
Yep.
that you have washboard abs.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
it's an interesting.
It's intense.
And that's the,
Yeah.
It's
the
so
trap though. And that's
true.
why I think people get so discouraged in working out because they see that as being the goal.
Yeah.
And I want to kind of be like, hey, listen, bodily exercise profits little.
Yeah.
Sure.
It profits. So
Yeah.
like I want to actually use that, but to
That's
get your
good.
spiritual man worked up because I think that you need to have both.
Yeah.
I'm really-
functional, sustainable,
100%.
enjoyable.
nutrition
With a
here-
cheat day.
Yeah.
Yes, and here's the thing with nutrition
cheat
too.
day?
I do,
Okay, yeah.
absolutely.
Wait, so eating that way, do your kids eat that way or do they eat differently?
They do for the most part. Like we don't,
They're like more
Jeremy and I
carbs.
don't do, a ton of carbs. The
Yeah.
kids will.
Yeah.
Like we'll have bagels in the house and they'll eat bagels.
They're both like,
But
they're all super skinny, so I'm
Yeah,
kind of
we-
like, hey, you can eat some
Yeah, I was going to
carbs.
say with our
And
kids
sugar.
as
You're
well.
You're on the opposite
Totally.
with them.
Oh,
Like slipping them a baked potato.
100%.
Completely. I'm like, you guys want a burger and fries? Let's go get some, you know.
What day? When you
they'll-
guys are having a cheat day? What's your go-to? Where do you guys go? Like,
Oh, ice cream.
I was going to say it's
100%
ice cream.
Ben and
Jennie's
Jerry's?
ice
Or you're
cream.
going to like Dairy Queen?
Jennies.
Oh, Jennie's. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the Nashville thing. Do they have it in Palm
is.
Springs?
No, but
Well, no, they do. They
Oh, you
sell the
can
little
mail
tabs
it.
at Whole Foods.
mail it.
Chris
Yeah.
Tomlin sent us some on ice for his book
Bob
for
Goff
endorsing
just
his
sent
book.
us some as well. I was like,
I'm like, I'll
oh.
endorse anybody's book that wants me to endorse it if you'll send me ice cream.
That's-
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
Sadie
Is this,
Robertson.
is this a book about satanic worship? You know what, Levi? Why'd you endorse that book? Well, hey, listen, I'm not
really-
entirely on board with the messaging, but gosh, that ice cream.
The ice cream is exactly why I did it. I mean, that's what Sadie Robinson first did it to us.
Weird, that's why I endorsed in unison. I thought ice cream was coming.
Now it's funny is we're to do it.
It's just late. It got lost in the mail.
No.
It was
Exactly.
COVID.
Listen, yeah, guys, sorry.
Sadie Robertson, did she give you ice
She
cream?
sent us some.
She started it because
Yeah.
we did a podcast with her and it went great. And so all of a sudden, Jenny's ice cream show, I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
So then with Bob, we did a whole event with him with his new book. And he sent us just a bunch of Jenny. I'm like,
the
this is the
best.
thing.
It's
So we got it
the
now.
best. But
It's getting harder to release a book now.
I know.
The bar is just getting raised.
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
the influencer packs have to be like off the charts, which you guys kill it.
It
by
better
the way.
be full tilt.
Yeah, by the way,
Yeah.
you guys are the best.
Always.
So anyway.
But I was gonna say, I know for me, I have such a massive sweet tooth. I love chocolate. I love sugar. And so I can't actually have it in the house because when it comes to it, I just have very little discipline.
Yeah,
I've gotten better.
same.
And so for me, I'll cheat a little bit and then it's like, okay, we're done. And we'll just we'll just pitch everything.
Yeah.
Jeremy's
Wow.
much better at it not being there. I mean, he doesn't really care. He'll just not have it. I
know
can't.
Levi's the same way.
Yeah.
I'm like, how can that be in front of your face and you
Yeah.
not eat it?
Yeah,
It's so hard.
Well, and then I'll have a little scoop, but then I'll go back and have another little scoop, and somehow I justify it because it's small
the cheat
amounts.
day has worked for me. I literally, it's like a placebo effect.
yeah.
Even like, Saturday, I'll do it, which right now is my cheat day. So we had waffles this morning, you know?
Boom.
It's like, and then, I'll talk
Tonight
about for
probably.
dinner, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, but then
Tonight is
tomorrow,
late.
it's like a hard reset.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yes.
mean? So
Yeah.
I just feel like
But
that.
so it's
has,
hard because like Friday night we'll shop for Sabbath, which for us is cheat day
Yeah,
for
yeah.
him.
Yeah.
Flabbath.
But then it's still in the house. It's still in the house, but he's not eating it the next day. But then I will eat it the next day after. So it's such a
And
struggle.
I'll like come in the room and she's eating something and I'll just be like, if that's how you want to live your life. She's like, sorry.
You bought this, and here it is. I know. It's
You
so
can't resist the
hard.
Oreos. Put them in the box for next week.
You want to be undisciplined? That's fine.
No, it's cool. I mean, if you don't want to honor the Lord with your body, it's cool. I'm just over here trying to like do my part to, You guys, this was a really fun conversation.
This is awesome.
So
I feel like we could go another 2 or 3 hours and
Seriously,
probably not
I
hit a
know.
wall.
I actually kind of agree with you. I keep thinking we probably could keep talking, but,
We're
but
at,
people are going to
we're
be.
at 83 minutes.
Oh my
wow.
word!
Goodness.
And I think this is the longest we've ever gone.
Yeah,
I
and I feel like that we could just keep
Oh, we
talking.
literally could keep
but
going.
yeah, it's an hour and a half. Maybe
Really?
people will be a little bored after a while.
Listen, no one's
Maybe
gonna,
we think
no
it's
one's
awesome.
Gonna, no one's going to make them listen to it.
Exactly.
No.
It's
They don't
by
have to.
choice.
It's actually
It's
a good point.
completely up to them. If you've made it
cut
this
it.
far and you didn't stop 20 minutes in, good on you.
Love
'cause it
part
got
one,
better
part
and
two.
better.
Proud of you guys.
Totally.
Way to be disciplined.
Yeah, seriously.
First start.
I enjoyed it. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, we love you guys.
Thank you.
Love you guys.
For you.
One last chance. What's something you guys want to plug? What are you passionate about? What any new product out?
Yeah.
Obviously, you got the book.
The book
Yeah,
in
In
Unison
Unison.
for sure. Her book, Even Me, the children's
Which is
book.
amazing.
Should I call it resource? Is that more spiritual?
Resource.
Oh, no.
It's product.
That
I don't
book's
care.
fun. I have a I Still Believe book that I wrote due to the movie. And the movie,
Yeah,
too.
And the movie.
Like,
Come on.
Please
movies
see
out,
the movie.
all platforms.
Would
So
encourage people to
good.
watch
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, for sure.
We gathered our family and watched it, and it was touching.
Thank you.
It was. I mean, we know you, but had we not, it still would have been.
It's so beautiful.
Thank you guys. Love you all.
Thank you.
Proud of you all. Seriously.
Yes.
And scene.